Good morning. My name is Eli Howes. Can you please tell me your full name?
My name is Huda Rahal.
And what should I call you?
You can call me Huda.
Okay, Huda, in this first part, I'd like to ask you some questions about yourself. Let's talk about your hometown. Has your hometown changed a lot in recent years?
Well, not that much, but having said that, I think right now we are seeing more and more improvements in the infrastructure. And I believe that the government has started to build or have more buildings in my hometown. So yes, I think that's an improvement, a good improvement.
Yes. Where is your hometown?
Well, my hometown is located in the southern part of the country. It's the capital city of Syria,
Mm.
Damascus, and it's a very old city. It's one of the oldest cities in the world.
Would you consider your hometown to be a good place for children?
Yes, definitely. It's a very good place for children to grow up, and it's very safe to go out, even if it was late at night. I think it's very safe for young people to go out and hang out with some friends if they want.
Yes. Now, tell me, let's move on to talents. Do you have a talent or something that you are particularly good at?
Yes, I think I have. I have a knack for cooking, and I think I make some delicious food. I know that because my kids tell me so. And I think I also good at baking. So I make or bake cakes and cupcakes. So yeah, I think I'm good at it.
Do you think this talent can be useful for your future work?
Well, I'm not sure to be honest, but it could be helpful for my future, only if I want to become a pastry chef.
Do other people in your family have the same talent?
Yes, I think I got this talent from my mom.
Mhm.
She's a very good cook. And I think also my aunts from my mother's side are also good at cooking. So yeah, I think it is something inherited in the family.
Let's move on. Let's talk about collecting things. Do you collect anything?
No, I don't. I know that some people like to collect stamps, others like to collect coins, but I don't like or I don't feel that I have that interest. I'm not interested in collecting things.
Were there any things that you collected or you kept from your childhood?
Yes, I think I still have my toys and my dolls. I used to play with them when I was a little kid, and I still have them now. Yeah, and my kids now are playing with them.
Why do you think some people become extremely interested in collecting things like you mentioned, like stamps?
I'm not an expert, but the way I see it, maybe because it helps them to feel more relaxed, or it helps them to relieve their stress, maybe. So yeah, it could be anything.
Let's move on to part two. And in this part, I'm going to give you a topic and I'd like you to talk about it for 1 to 2 minutes. Before you talk, you'll have 1 minute to think about what you're going to say and you can make some notes if you wish. Do you understand?
Yes, I do.
Okay, here's your topic. You have 1 minute to start.
Okay.
All right, remember you have 1 to 2 minutes for this, so don't worry if I stop you. I'll tell you when the time is up. Can you start speaking now, please?
Yes, sure. I want to tell you about a time when a teacher gave me a really good piece of advice. It all happened when I was a student. I know it's been a long time, but for me, it feels like it was just yesterday. So, after my graduation, I took an English course to improve or work on my English skills. And the teacher asked us to make or prepare some presentations. So I decided to make one and I decided to talk about chocolate. So back then I didn't have the skills, let's say the computer skills to make that presentation. And I had no idea how to use PowerPoint. So I just prepared some pictures and I just prepared the things that I want to mention. So before that presentation, I was so nervous. I guess I had some butterflies in my stomach. And one thing that helped me to speak and to do well was the teacher. He was very, very good. He gave me some positive comments on my work or on my presentation. And by the way, he now owns a language institute. He runs and owns a language institute. And I think he is an amazing teacher. He's outstanding. I learned a lot from him. So back to the presentation. After I finished, he told me that your presentation was good, but it could be better if you can use PowerPoint. So he advised me to start working on my computer skills or on my Microsoft skills. And after that, I remember I took an ICDL course.
Thank you. That's
Okay.
your 2 minutes. Do you think you'll spend more time with this person in the future?
I don't think so because he's very busy right now. He has got a family now. He has so many engagements. So I don't think I will meet him in the future. I hope so. I hope to meet him, but I don't think I can make it.
Okay. So we've been talking about when someone gave you some good advice, and I'd like to discuss with you one or two more general questions related to this. Let's consider, first of all, advice and feedback. When do you think it's a good idea to give children advice or feedback?
Well, that's a tough question. I think some children cannot accept advice from older people. Maybe because they are very young or they are at an age that doesn't help them to grasp or understand the importance of the advice itself. So I guess it's pretty hard to convince a young person or maybe to tell them that you need to do this and you shouldn't do this. But overall, I think when they grow up, they will have that understanding, and I think they will be more mature, and that can help them maybe understand more about the advice.
Mhm. What do you think happens if parents only ever give their children positive encouragement and positive feedback and never give their children negative feedback on the things that they do?
Well, I'm kind of on the fence. You know, I mean, on the one hand, it is good to give positive comments, but just to encourage children or young people, I think it is essential to do this. But on the other hand, sometimes you need to give the negative ones just to help them improve. So, for example, if you still or if you keep telling a young child, you are good, you're doing great, your grades are very, very good, so you don't need to work on your study. I think in that case, that child will kind of feel pretty confident that they can do well every time they do it. So I think, yeah, the parents should, I think it's the responsibility of parents to try to tell them that you need to improve, you need to work on your skills, you need to brush up on your skills, and you need to keep that level, because I think in this case uh, they may have some difficulties with their learning process.
Now, as we grow older, we still get advice and feedback, but in different parts of our lives. So, what parts of our lives, as we become adults, would we get feedback and advice on?
Well, it's really hard to know, you know, because things change sometimes in a very fast way, and you'll never know what may happen, or you will never know what will happen in the future. But my take on this is that we should do our best in order to give the best advice. So, positive feedback is essential, as I mentioned, but sometimes you need also to criticize. So I think if you can criticize, and if the criticism is kind of constructive criticism, I think that can help the person to improve and to try to have a better, let's say, a better version of themselves.
Mhm. When it comes to giving advice and negative advice, and like you mentioned, constructive criticism, what's a good way to deliver such kind of negative feedback?
I think it's a good way to start first by the positive feedback, and then you can move on to mention the negative one. I guess teachers do this, or some teachers do this. They first mention the good things, and then they can move on to mention the bad things or the negative things. I think this way can help students or anyone to feel more confident, and maybe that can help them also to accept that criticism in a way. So yes, I think it's a very good way to start with the good things first, and then you can mention the bad ones.
Mm. Let's talk about learning more broadly. Do you think nowadays, with things like YouTube and language apps and educational platforms, that we can learn without a teacher? That we can just self-study and learn anything we need?
I don't think so, to be honest, because I still feel that we still need that human interaction between students and teachers. And I think this is something that is missing when you use AI applications and websites like ChatGPT or Copilot or whatever. So you are basically talking to a robot, and we all know that robots can make mistakes. They are not perfect or accurate all the time. I know that humans also make mistakes, but uh, again, I want to go back to the human interaction idea, and I think that it is essential to feel that there is a human being interacting with you, smiling maybe at you, or have that broad smile on their face. I think that can play a huge role in the process.
Yes. So what advice would you give for people getting ready for the IELTS exam?
Oh, good question.
Mhm.
I think I've got lots of pieces of advice, not just one. Uh, I think the first thing is to understand the tests and how it goes, because some students don't have that deep understanding, if I can call it so. Just understand the test, how it goes, and familiarize yourself with the different components. Learn the strategies that you need to learn in terms of listening and reading. I also think that practice is key when it comes to your other skills, speaking and writing. So yeah, I've got so many pieces of advice actually. I'm not sure if I can just squeeze them into 1 or 2 minutes.
Yes, well, let's finish the exam here. That was a lovely speaking test. In fact, we've done so many speaking tests over the
Yeah.
years, and that was the best one. That was a phenomenal speaking test. It's really clear that, you're someone that knows so much about IELTS, but you also have so many opportunities to speak English, that you teach people, that you're very deliberate in the way that you speak, in the way that you present your ideas. There's just so much that people can learn from you. And I know that you are teaching a lot of students these days. Are you taking on more students at the moment?
Yes, yep. I've been teaching for more than a year now, and I think, yeah, I think you kind of felt that improvement
Yeah, I felt
in
that
terms of
improvement.
my, yeah, in terms of my fluency, my grammar, my vocabulary. So now I'm speaking English more regularly on a very regular basis, and sometimes I speak English for 3 or 4 hours per week.
Do
Yeah.
you dream in English?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I only dream in my native language, which is Arabic.
Right. So, tell me about some of the tips that you were incorporating into this speaking test that we were doing together. Some of the things that students might learn from watching this video.
Sometimes when you prepare your talk, and you kind of put things in mind, like if I got this question, I would answer it this way. Sometimes you forget because maybe because you are under stress. And when people are under stress, they kind of forget half of the things that they want to make or do. So yes, I try to be as much as natural I can. I try to produce natural spoken English, not very complicated vocabulary or something. I also try to make my speech coherent, because there is no point of just giving some reasons without explaining them. You just need to uh, mention your opinion, let's say, and then say why you think so. So yes, I think connecting between your ideas, your sentences is essential because, as you know, fluency and coherence takes 25% of your overall speaking score. So yeah, I think also grammar or GRA, lexis, pronunciation. And I think pronunciation is, or this is what I tell students, I guess pronunciation is probably one of the easiest things to get a high score in because you're not asked to have an accent. It doesn't matter if you have a British accent or American accent or Australian or whatever. So you just need to produce the sounds correctly and accurately. You just need to have that sense of when you should put stress or where you should put stress on words or sentences or whatever. So yeah. Other than that, I think practice is essential. Again, I want to say that again, practice is essential because speaking is a productive skill. The more you speak, the better you will do in the arts. That's for sure. So if you can practice your English with someone, and it will be so good if you can find someone who can correct your mistakes and give you some comments on your speech or talk. That will be great. Yeah.
Do you do that for your students?
Yes, I do. Yeah, we usually make a mock test. After we finish, I just give them some comments on their performance. I also highlight their weaknesses and try to suggest some ways so that they can improve or maybe turn these weaknesses into strengths. Yeah, and sometimes students ask me like, Huda, how would you answer this question if you or if the examiner asked you this question, how would you answer it? So yeah, I try to give them some strategies. Like for me, for example, I know that examiners like, in terms of grammar, they like it when you use the passive voice or the conditional sentence because these are considered as advanced structures. So when you use a passive voice or when you use, let's say, a conditional sentence type 2, then the examiner will say, oh, wow, that's a very high level of grammar. Or when you use, for example, a good collocation. So yes, all these things can help you to get a high score, whether in speaking or even in writing. What do you think?
Yeah, I completely agree
Am
with
I
you.
right?
Yeah. Certainly with conditionals, I know that that's something that's very easy for examiners to pick up on because as soon as they hear that word if or provided or whether or these phrases that indicate that there's going to be a conditional sentence, then they can really clock in and say, okay, can this person use this correctly? And the passive as well, yes, that's considered advanced grammar, although often examiners don't notice when the passive is used correctly. So like I just used the passive there, if the passive is used correctly. So the passive, when it's used correctly, sometimes goes unnoticed. So it kind of depends on the experience of the examiner with the passive. But certainly things like conditional structures and then using all of the tenses correctly, those things are very noticeable for examiners of any experience level.
Yeah. And there's also like I want to mention something, if you can allow me to. Some students don't like to talk about some topics. So I usually ask them like which topics you find yourself not very good at, or which topics do you hate to talk about. So they will just tell me what topics they find difficult. And when it's the next lesson, I ask them about the same topic.
Good. That's a really
Yeah,
good idea.
yeah. I try to push them out of their comfort zone, because they should expect everything. You may get it in your actual test, so they should be prepared for that. So yes, I asked them to talk about the same topic for 2 minutes.
And then it's nice because
And
they get to do that in a safe environment with you before their real test.
yeah, exactly. So they are doing it in a more relaxed way, let's say, because in the actual test they may stress out or get stressed out. So yeah, they need to experience that feeling, like if they get an unexpected topic, what will they do? So yes, I think it's a good idea to do this because, as I said, you need to be prepared for everything and anything.
Okay, Huda, thank you very much for coming on and for doing this speaking test with me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much for inviting me, Eli. It's always lovely to chat with you.
Yes. All right. Bye then.